All right, let's dive in. Today, we're all about the baguette.
Ooh, the baguette.
I mean, come on, who doesn't love a good baguette, right?
Absolutely, a classic.
But we're going deeper than just like, oh, it's yummy.
Right. There's so much more to it.
Yeah. We've got a whole stack of sources here, like actual history books,
Fascinating stuff.
articles about like French culture and food,
Oh, love those.
and even, get this, a quote from a master baker.
Ooh la la, a real pro.
So we're going to uncover why this bread, this baguette,
This seemingly simple bread.
yeah, is like seriously important, like UNESCO recognized important.
That's right, UNESCO. Just back in 2022.
Which is pretty recent when you think about it.
Very recent, yeah. Shows how even in our modern world.
Right, with like factories making everything.
Exactly. People still value these old ways of doing things.
The craftsmanship, you know. So that's what we're diving into today.
The how and the why of the baguette's rise to fame.
Absolutely. Okay, so first things first.
Yeah, let's set the stage.
Back in time we go. Way, way back.
Like ancient times back.
Ancient Egypt, the Middle East.
Bread was already a thing.
It's that old. It's crazy to think about.
It really shows you how essential bread is.
It's like fundamental to like civilization itself, right?
Absolutely. From those early days, it spread and changed.
And eventually made its way to France. Well, Gaul back then.
Gaul, that's right. Before it was France, there was bread there.
Okay, so bread's been around forever, but when did the baguette...
Long, thin loaf we know and love.
Yeah, like when did that appear?
That's where things get a little mysterious, a little bit of debate.
Oh, I love a good mystery.
Some say Napoleon was behind it, needed bread for his soldiers.
Makes sense, easy to carry, right?
It's exactly. Compact and efficient. But then there's the Vienna theory.
Vienna, like Austria.
Yep. Some think Austrian bakers brought the style to France.
Interesting. So a bit of a bread off, huh?
A bread off. I like that. We may never know for sure the exact origin story.
But what we do know is that certain historical events...
They really shaped the baguette's destiny.
Okay, so spill the tea. What kind of events?
Well, think about it. Even back then, people had work rules.
Ah, the joys of bureaucracy, even for bread.
In the 20th century, France passed a law. No night work for bakers.
No nighttime baking. What did that do to the baguette?
Think about traditional loaves. Round, big, they take time.
Fermentation, right?
Overnight proving, all that jazz.
Exactly. But no night work meant.
They needed a faster bread.
Enter the baguette. Quick to make, quick to bake.
Ah, so a labor law helped create a bread icon. That's wild.
Sometimes even legal stuff has delicious consequences.
I love that. Okay, so labor laws played a part, but wasn't there also something about ovens?
You're on the right track. The 19th century saw the rise of steam ovens.
Steam ovens. How did those change the bread game?
Think crispy crust, airy inside? That's the magic of steam.
Ooh, yeah, the signature baguette texture.
And steam ovens made that possible. So you combine that.
With the deliciousness, the convenience of the shape.
And bam, the baguette was destined to be France's bread. It's like all these things, the laws, the ovens, just aligned perfectly.
A bread-making alignment of the stars. And these sources we have.
Oh, right, the books and articles.
Yeah, they go into all these details, like the history of French baking.
Love that title.
It really connects the dots between history, technology, and taste.
And we've also got info from, hold on, let me find it.
It's a long name, I know.
Ah, yes. The Confédération Nationale de la Boulangerie-Pâtisserie Française.
Quite a mouthful, but they're the authority on French bread making.
So we're getting the official story, the rules and traditions behind it all.
Exactly. And speaking of official, UNESCO recognition.
Right. We can't just gloss over that.
I mean, a loaf of bread getting UNESCO status, that's huge.
It must be more than just about, like, how it tastes, right?
You're hitting the nail on the head. The baguette and bread in general.
It's deeper than just food in France.
Much deeper. Imagine a classic French scene, okay?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Family dinner, everyone's gathered, laughing, talking.
In the middle of the table.
A basket of fresh bread. It's a symbol of togetherness.
It's like the bread itself is part of the connection, right?
Right, precisely. And it's not just family meals.
Picnics in the park, those like romantic French movies.
Exactly. Gatherings with friends, even fancy dinners.
Bread's always there.
Always present. Sharing connection, that's what it represents.
It's like woven into their social lives.
It is. It's fascinating how something so simple can have such deep meaning.
And it goes even deeper than that. We were talking about religion earlier.
Oh, yes. Bread has huge religious significance.
Especially in Christianity, the Eucharist, right?
Exactly. The bread symbolizing the body of Christ.
Wow. I never made that connection before, but it makes sense.
A very powerful symbol. And even in language, everyday French,
Oh, right. You were saying there are expressions.
all the time, like guide your son pain to earn one's bread.
Like to earn a living, basically.
Exactly. Or long comme un jour sans pain, long as a day without bread.
Meaning, like, really long and tough.
Exactly. It shows how deeply bread is part of their worldview.
It's like the language itself reflects this importance.
It really does. So we've got this deep cultural connection in France.
But what about the rest of the world? Do we see the baguette the same way?
I think it definitely holds its own on the global stage.
Like if you say French food, people picture baguettes.
Absolutely. Alongside cheese and wine, it's the trifecta.
And with that UNESCO recognition,
It's official. The world has acknowledged its cultural importance.
it's like the baguette became an ambassador for France.
Showing the world their traditions, their values, all baked into one loaf.
Okay, so we've got the history, the cultural meaning, the global recognition.
But let's not forget the heart of it all. The boulangerie.
Ah, yes, the French bakery. I've heard those are special.
They're more than just shops. They're like community hubs.
Oh, I love that.
Imagine you walk in, the smell of fresh bread hits you.
Heaven.
You chat with the baker, maybe catch up on local gossip.
It's like a daily ritual, right?
Exactly. Generations-old tradition happening every day.
And those bakers must be so skilled to be entrusted with. Like,
With a cultural icon, basically.
Mhm.
And they are true masters.
Do they only make the classic baguette or do they get creative too?
They do both. They've got the classic down pat, of course.
Gotta respect the tradition.
Absolutely. But they also experiment with other types of bread.
Ooh, like what? Give me some examples.
Different flours, grains, flavors, you name it. They're true artists.
It's like edible masterpieces coming out of these boulangeries.
It really is. And speaking of masterpieces, French cuisine as a whole.
Oh yeah, we can't talk about French food without talking about how they use the bread.
Exactly. It's all about creating a symphony of flavors.
Ooh, fancy. I like it.
Like pairing a crusty baguette with creamy brie cheese.
Oh my God, stop. I'm getting hungry.
Or a slice of sourdough with a bold red wine.
It's not just about filling your stomach, it's an experience, right?
Exactly. It's about savoring the subtle interplay of flavors and textures.
I remember once I was in France and I had this like simple meal,
Simple but delicious, I bet.
just bread and cheese, but the quality, the freshness,
Yeah, it makes all the difference.
it was unforgettable. So we've got the pairings, but what about dishes made with bread?
Oh, so many. Pain perdu, their version of French toast.
I've heard of that. It's like bread soaked in custard or something, right?
You got it. And then there's the croque monsieur grilled ham and cheese.
Classic, both using humble bread as the star ingredient.
Exactly. And then beyond there's the how they eat bread.
Oh, right. The rituals, the etiquette.
It's part of their savoir-vivre, their way of life.
Okay, paint me a picture. What's it like to eat bread the French way?
Imagine each morning you go to the boulangerie, get your fresh baguette.
The warmth of the loaf in your hand.
That anticipation for that first bite.
It's about slowing down, enjoying the moment.
Exactly. Connecting with a tradition that goes back centuries.
I love that. And the etiquette, you mentioned some rules.
Oh yeah, there are some. Like never put a loaf upside down,
Bad luck, huh?
supposedly. It's fascinating, these little details.
It shows such respect for something as simple as bread.
It really does. But in our fast-paced world, is there still room for all this?
That's a good question. Like tradition versus modernity. Right here.
Exactly. And it brings us to the evolving world of bread itself.
Ooh, things are getting interesting. Tell me more.
While tradition is strong, there's this interplay with the new.
Like what kind of new?
Organic breads, specialty breads, ancient grains, different techniques.
So it's not just sticking to the old ways, but also innovating.
Exactly. Preserving heritage and embracing the new.
I like that balance. But doesn't that make it tough for the traditional bakeries?
It does. Competition for mass-produced bread is a real challenge.
Especially with like supermarkets and stuff.
Exactly. It's a threat to this cultural heritage.
So many bakers are struggling, trying to keep up.
It's a real issue. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, good. There's hope.
There is. People are realizing the value of traditional craftsmanship,
Supporting local businesses, all that.
and that's where UNESCO comes in.
Right. It's not just about the label, it's about protection, right?
Exactly. It's a way to safeguard this tradition for the future.
Okay, so we've set the stage, the history, the culture, the challenges.
And now it's time to delve into the specifics of that UNESCO status.
What does it actually mean for the baguette and its future?
That's what we'll uncover next.
Let's do it. Okay, so UNESCO, big deal, right. But like, what does it actually do?
It's huge. Think of it like a global stamp of approval,
Ooh, I like that analogy.
saying, hey, world, this baguette thing, it's important.
Not just for France, but like for everyone?
Exactly. It's about preserving something special.
In a world where like everything's becoming the same?
Right, mass production, globalization, you know the drill.
Yeah, so UNESCO steps in and says, hold on, this is unique.
This needs protecting. This is part of our human story.
Wow, I never thought of it that way, like bread as heritage.
It is. And this recognition is not just words, it's action too.
Oh. So there are rules, like to be a UNESCO baguette.
You got it. To be called a baguette de tradition, there are standards.
Like what kind of standards? What makes it so special?
It's all about the ingredients, the method, the tradition.
Okay, break it down for me.
4 ingredients, that's it. Flour, water, salt, yeast.
No, like preservatives or weird additives or anything.
Nope. Pure and simple, the way it's been done for ages.
That's pretty strict. It's like they're really serious about this.
They are. It's about preserving the craft, the skill.
So not just any baguette can be a baguette de tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a mark of quality, of authenticity.
I'm starting to understand why UNESCO got involved. It's about preserving something.
It's a whole art form, a way of life even.
It makes you realize how much work goes into each loaf.
The dedication of these bakers, it's incredible.
It's more than just a job. It's like a cultural mission.
Exactly. And UNESCO, it helps them, gives them support.
I bet the bakers themselves have some strong opinions about this.
Oh, for sure. And to really understand their perspective.
We need to hear from them directly.
You know it. Remember that term, meilleur ouvrier de France?
Oh, yeah, the best cracksman of France, right?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Like the top honor for artisans.
Like the Oscars for, I don't know, bread making.
Something like that. And one of these master bakers, François Pozzoli.
From Lyon, right. I remember reading about him.
Yeah, he said something that really stuck with me.
Okay, what did he say?
He said, the artisans love their trade. They set up shop with loans on their backs and families to feed. They need support.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a reminder that behind the bread, there are people, real struggles.
It's not just about the product, it's about livelihoods.
Exactly. And their passion, their dedication, it's inspiring.
And UNESCO, it helps shine a light on that, right?
It gives them a platform, a recognition they deserve.
It's like the world is saying, we see you, we value what you do.
And that support, it's crucial, especially with the challenges they face.
Okay, so we've got the big picture, but what about the variety of bread in France?
Ah, yes. France is a bread lover's paradise.
It's not all baguettes all the time, right?
Well, no, there's a whole world of regional breads to explore.
Like what? Give me some examples. My taste buds are regular.
I've got pain de campagne, a classic sourdough, often whole white.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Sounds rustic and delicious.
It is. Perfect with, like, a hearty soup or stew.
Comfort food.
Then there's pain de potre, made with spelt flour.
That's an ancient grain, right?
You got it. Gives it a slightly nutty flavor.
Interesting. What else? I'm getting hungry just thinking about this.
Breads with nuts, seeds, olives, you name it. Every region has its specialty.
It's like a bread adventure waiting to happen.
Exactly. But let's not forget the health-conscious folks out there.
Right. Not all bread is created equal, nutritionally speaking.
You're right. Different flours, different profiles.
Like whole grain versus white flour, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Whole grain, more fiber, more nutrients.
So it's about making choices, not just grabbing the first loaf you see.
And then there's the whole ancient grains trend.
Spelt, you mentioned that. What else is there?
Einkorn, kamut, they're making a comeback.
Why is that? Are they like healthier or something?
Often higher in protein, lower glycemic index, good for blood sugar.
So it's not just a fad. There are real benefits.
And the flavors. They add a unique dimension to bread.
Okay, so we've got the regional breads, the healthy options.
But let's not forget the social aspect of bread in France.
Right. It's not just about individual consumption, is it?
Not at all. Bread is a symbol of sharing, of community.
I bet there are some cool initiatives using bread for good.
You bet. There's Le Pain du Partage, the bread of sharing.
What do they do?
They collect unsold bread from bakeries and give it to those in need.
Wow, that's amazing. Like reducing waste and helping people at the same time.
Exactly. It's a beautiful example of bread's power to connect.
It's like a symbol of hope, of solidarity.
It really highlights the deeper meaning of bread in their culture.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The history, the culture, the social impact.
What does it all mean for the future of this beloved bread?
That's the big question, isn't it? What's next for the baguette? Wow, we've really gone deep on the baguette, haven't we?
We have history, culture, even the economics of it all.
It's amazing how much there is to say about a simple loaf of bread.
But it's not just bread, is it?
Not in France, that's for sure. So, what's the big takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's this. The baguette is symbol of more than just food. It's history, culture, a whole way of life.
Like France in a loaf, almost.
Exactly. It's tradition, community, those simple pleasures.
Gathering around a table, sharing a meal.
And now, with UNESCO, it's a symbol being shared with the world.
It's like France's gift to everyone.
And I think it's a reminder for all of us
About
to appreciate those ordinary things, find meaning in them.
because even the simplest things can have a deeper story.
Exactly. Slow down, enjoy the moment, the connections we have.
It's about more than just the thing itself. It's what it represents.
And that's something we can all relate to no matter where we're from.
I love that. It's like food as a universal language.
It really is. It can bridge cultures, tell stories, evoke memories.
Like, you smell fresh bread and you're instantly transported back.
To your grandma's kitchen, a bakery you loved as a kid.
And the baguette, it's a perfect example of that.
Centuries of history, nourishing people, bringing them together.
Around tables, in bakeries, even through those social initiatives.
It's a story of resilience, of tradition surviving in a changing world.
It gives me hope, that even in our fast-paced times,
We can still hold on to those things that matter.
those traditions, those connections,
And that's a beautiful thing. So, as we wrap up our baguette deep dive,
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
a breadcrumb for further exploration, perhaps.
Think about what bread means to you in your life, your culture.
How does it feature in your memories, your traditions?
What stories does it tell? What feelings does it evoke?
Because while the baguette might be French, bread itself is something we all share.
It's a universal symbol of nourishment, of community, of life itself.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey.